Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. We've got a packed show today. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed, live from Los Angeles. I'm Holly Saunders alongside Chris Broussard, Greg Jennings, and Rob Parker.
We made it.
We made it. You make it sound like it was some kind of sentence that you were serving.
Well, with these two, you know how it is. I mean, I had to fend off, fend.
No. Y'all thought y'all were getting rid of me yesterday, huh?
No, huh?
We glad to have you here. Unfortunate circumstances. You were supposed to be on vacation.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'd rather be in the Bahamas, but
yes,
we're happy.
Right, Greg was supposed to be on vacation, long story short, but his son is sick, so canceled trip. Another time. You get to be with us today.
And now I get a chance to make his dad sick.
My dad is actually having surgery this morning. Shout out, Dad.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
All right.
He'll be
We'll be praying for him.
I see you, Pop.
Yeah. We're thinking about it. All right, let's get to the latest with LeVar Ball, always dominating the headlines. According to a recent ESPN report, Magic Johnson is still all in on the Lonzo Ball era. LeVar has called out Luke Walton multiple times already this season. Most recently, he said Lonzo won't re-sign with LA unless they sign his brothers. Yeah, Magic was asked in the report if he regrets drafting Lonzo with all the added drama. And Magic said, quote, "No, not for 1 minute. He's everything we thought he would be and more." All right, Chris, so Magic is saying the right things. Are you buying this, though?
No, I'm not buying this. I mean, look, Magic had no choice. If you're secretly, which this isn't the case, but if you were secretly trying to trade him or thinking we might have to move on, you still say what Magic said. If you really do like him, you still say what Magic said. If you're iffy, which is probably where there are somewhere in the middle, you still say what Magic Johnson said. So, but I'm not buying it for a second. Let's look at what he said. No regrets, all right? And he said something else. He said he's everything, this is in the same quote, we thought he would be and more. That's just a flat-out lie. I love Magic Johnson. Magic knows I love him. That's just a flat-out lie. I'm sorry. You said when you had the press conference, what'd you say? He's the new face of the Lakers. That's what you expected. He's not the face. He was more the face of the Lakers that day than he is now. Now Brandon Ingram is more the face of the Lakers. Kyle Kuzma's probably more the face of the Lakers. Heck, LeVar Ball is more the face of the Lakers than Lonzo is. So number one, that's wrong. You talked about retiring his jersey. You said, don't break all my records. At his best, he will never be Magic Johnson. He never will. Maybe he'll be Jason Kidd. I don't even know if he'll be that. But he'll never be Magic Johnson. So those were the expectations Magic set for him. And he just hasn't reached them. He's fallen off. Beyond that, I think he can be a very good player. And he's played better than people give him credit for. But he's not exciting. Not an exciting player. You compared him to yourself, Magic. Magic was the ultimate showman. His passes were tremendous. The best passer by far in NBA history. The most exciting passer. Lonzo is not that. Even when he's cooking, when he's getting his rare triple-doubles, when he's getting everybody involved, it's very pedestrian. There are no looks. It's stuff like that doesn't come from him. Then you throw on top of that LeVar. And LeVar is, one, a deterrent to free agents, most particularly LeBron James. So that's not what you expected. That's not what you wanted. Your teammates and coaches are in the line of fire from LeVar's mouth. That's not what you wanted. Then the Lakers are not associated with the big baller brand. But in the story that Ramona Shelburne wrote for ESPN.com, great story, where this quote came from, she wrote that when Big Baller Brand was failing to deliver their shoes and product to customers, people called the Lakers.
Looking for their merchandise.
So now on top of all the basketball problems, on top of all of his bluster that's brought problems to the franchise, now you have people thinking that you aren't delivering on your promises when it's really the Big Baller Brand. So those are the facts. So Magic was just being a public relations guy. That's
absolutely.
What that was.
And that was GM speak.
Yeah.
You've heard a coach speak when they say, yes, Magic had to say that from the standpoint of that was his first pick. He has to prove to everybody that he knows talent and all that. But Magic is as guilty as LeVar for all the stuff that you talked about. He was waving the pom-poms as well, so people had a higher expectation. The notion about the Jason Kidd, people need to stop with the Jason Kidd thing. Jason
you don't think
Kidd,
he's going to be close to that?
No, but Jason Kidd, even his rookie year, everybody says, well, Jason struggled his rookie year shooting or whatever. Jason Kidd was rookie of the year, shared it with Grant Hill.
Yeah.
Lonzo's not even in the conversation. I mean, really, he's not even the best rookie on his own team. Kyle Kuzma is. So all that stuff doesn't fit in. And I think maybe I'll give Magic a break. Maybe he misread the teleprompter during the press conference, and instead of saying he was the face of the franchise, he meant farce of the franchise, and that's what probably happened. Because when you look at some of the numbers, really, you ready? And you say he didn't get enough credit for the player he's been so far. Maybe he's been, okay, here we go. And this is all rookies in the league this year. Field goal percentage, 35%, worst of all rookies in the NBA. Three-point shooting, second worst. Josh Jackson's the only one who's shooting worse from three than Lonzo. Free throws. Now, of all things, okay, maybe his shot's not right. He's shooting 48%, the worst of all rookies. Everybody knows DeAndre Jordan, that was his bugaboo. He's shooting 60, and Lonzo's shooting 48. So my point here is, Magic is saying these things, and you're right. If you want to move him or whatever, you can't trash the kid. But to say that he's lived up and he's everything that you wanted could not be further from the truth. He has been a bust to this point, and I'm talking about from the expectations and the sell job that Laker fans got, NBA America got. He's been a bust. And don't tell me you can't call a kid through his first season a bust. If I can look at Simmons in Philadelphia in his first season playing and say this kid is something special and off the charts, I can look 30, 40 games in and say that Lonzo so far has been a bust.
I hear both of you guys.
I love when he says that.
I think for the first time, I'm on an island by myself. I can support Magic in this. And what he said was he's everything we expected him to be. How do we know exactly what they expected him to be this year?
Greg.
No, what
he called him the new face of the franchise.
Right.
That day.
Has he not gotten garnished all the attention?
It's declined since that day, don't you think?
I'm not saying it's declined, but this is his first year, and we talk about everything that rookies are supposed to be. Yes, did they set the bar high? Absolutely. Were expectations through the roof? Absolutely, without question. But no one knew Kyle Kuzma was going to come out here and be as good as he was, so the bar got raised even higher now.
If you never played with guys who came in and they're supposed to be all that, and you could tell early on
we knew,
this guy ain't going to be that.
But listen, we knew when we look at stars that can actually put the ball in the basket and can make everybody around them better. He makes the team better when he's on the court because of his passing ability, his ability to get out in transition, his unselfishness with the ball in his hands. He just can't shoot. So that's a knock on him. That's something he's going to have to work on and improve. The only part that I disagree with Magic about is the and more part, because I believe Magic when he says he's everything that we expected him to be, because I don't think their expectations this year, if you listen to Magic and his expectations of the team this year, they weren't high.
Did
he wanted them to be competitive.
Do you think he expected him to shoot 35%?
No, I don't think he did.
Okay, so that right there means the statement was wrong.
No.
48% from the free throw line. 20, whatever, look, 30% from three. Come on.
I agree with those. I agree with those numbers. I agree with that. All I'm saying is I don't think Magic's expectations for this year were high for anyone across the board, including Lonzo. Even though he elevated and made sure that, this is what you're supposed to do.
No, you're not supposed to say your jersey's going to be in the rafters one day and you're going to break all the records of one of the best players in history. You're not supposed to say that.
Who are you to tell Magic what he can and can't say?
He put up an expectation that he hasn't lived up to.
You
could say that, hey, he's an exciting player who's going to be a part of this franchise for a long time. I'm looking forward to watching him play. And I saw him at UCLA. And if he can bring that same magic and change the franchise the way he changed that college program, we'll be in great shape. That's not what he said.
This is the problem.
When LeBron James got drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers, they didn't say he's going to be up there in the rafters and break all of Bingo Smith's records. That's LeBron James.
This is
you don't
why
say that with
being
Lonzo
on
Ball.
this side of it now, this is why it always tripped me out. Because now all of a sudden we want Magic Johnson to be what everybody else is, which is to say the right things, to do it a certain way. Magic, you don't do it that way when you're in that position now. No, Magic is saying it from what he sees. He's going with he sees Lonzo Ball every single day. Every single day. He's seen him more than any one of us at this table right now. And so to say that Magic Johnson is lying, he's telling part truth, I'll give you that. He's not telling the whole truth because the and more is where I think he went too far. But to say that Lonzo Ball is everything we expected him to be, he never set the bar that high for the team. So why in the world is he saying that his number is going to be lifted in the rafters this year?
You think he expected him to be the second best rookie on his team? If not, Josh Hart is actually playing better in February than Lonzo has at any point in the season.
No, but that is a great problem to have now.
I know, but that's not what you expected. We're talking about the statement of he's all we expected and more.
When we talk about him being the second best player on this team, why is that? It's because Kuzma can
second best rookie.
Rookie on this team. Yeah, you're right, because he's not even the second best player on the team.
And I don't know that that's what they expected. I mean, come on.
But it's because of the ability that Kyle Kuzma has shown to score the basketball and to defend, quite honestly. Like, he is just a better overall player.
But, Greg, if it was just that, and we're talking about scoring, and that's the reason why Lonzo doesn't get credit, how did Jason Kidd finish in a tie with Grant Hill? They're not the same player. Jason Kidd, you ready? He averaged almost 12 points a game his rookie year. Lonzo's at 10. So as bad as people talk about Jason Kidd in his rookie campaign, he still scored more points than Lonzo. That's a problem. This is what I'm saying. It's not a real comparison.
The difference with Jason Kidd and Lonzo Ball is the way they play. Yes, are they both good passers? But Jason Kidd has always been able to manage a basketball game. As a point guard, he was a floor general. Bottom line, Lonzo Ball isn't a floor general. What I mean by that
what is he? If he's not a floor, because I kind of disagree, but if he's not a floor general and he definitely is not a big-time scorer, what is he?
Because Jason Kidd could penetrate and create open spots for his other players. You don't see Lonzo as a threat offensively whatsoever.
So what? So what's your argument?
My point is,
Magic Johnson expected that?
No, I don't think Magic Johnson expected him to be an offensive threat. And I don't think he expected Kyle Kuzma to be what he said he was. I just think that his expectations of Lonzo Ball are right where they should be. Not in the rafters yet. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's not there yet. My point is, Magic Johnson, what he was saying wasn't predicated on just solely this year.
We know that, of course.
But that's what that's what you're focusing on. You're bringing up the rafters and his jersey going to be retired. He's going to break all that's down the line. We can't.
But you start breaking the records right now. You start. I mean, Magic was, now granted, Magic was 1 year older. He had came out after his sophomore year instead of his freshman year. But Magic was 18.7 assists,
from the beginning.
8 rebounds right away. Obviously was great.
How many guys come in this league and just star right from the beginning?
Then why compare him to Magic? Yes. Why compare him to yourself? I know Magic. Magic was being nice. Magic was caught up in the moment. Magic was trying to support the kid, and he likes him, and he wants him to be great. He's never going to be Magic Johnson, though. And so you're right, Magic was talking future in a lot of the stuff, but you still compared him to yourself. I do agree with you in that you seem to like Lonzo's game to some degree, and you think he's a bust. I wouldn't call him a bust.
No, he's not a bust.
Granted, he started off very poorly, but the last 2 months of the season, or the last month that he played, he was shooting over 40%, 42% from the field. He was shooting pretty good from three-point line. He was averaging about 12 points, still giving you your 7 rebounds, 7 assists. And defensively, even though he's not a stopper, he does have great instincts and intuition and gets deflections and things like that. So I don't think he's been bad. I think if we didn't know who his dad was, if he was an average NBA dad and we didn't know his name was LeVar Ball and he wasn't all talking and stuff, I think people would look at Lonzo and say he's having a pretty good year. Not a Magic Johnson year, not a year that makes you say he's ever going to be Magic Johnson, but a good year as a rookie. That's where I disagree with you, Rob.
No mercy. Hey everybody, Joy Taylor here. Thank you for listening to the Undisputed Podcast, but I wanted to tell you about another podcast at Fox Sports that we are really excited about, and that's Alexi Lalas's State of the Union podcast. That's right, U.S. soccer legend Alexi Lalas will be partnering with Fox soccer guru and researcher extraordinaire David Mossy to review the top storylines in soccer across the globe. Each week, Alexi will give his State of the Union on American soccer as it rebuilds for the future. So go subscribe right now and listen for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Now back to the show.
No mercy. We're at the midway point in the NBA season, and most odds makers have LeBron James coming in second in the MVP race behind huge favorite James Harden. After a rough January that saw LeBron average just 23 points per game, while he was unhappy with his old Cavs roster, he averaged 30 points and 13 assists during the Cavs' 4-game win streak recently, and LeBron appears to be rolling with his new teammates. So, Rob, does LeBron still deserve MVP consideration?
No way, no how. In fact, Chris, he should be disqualified for MVP because LeBron checked out a hotel MVP back in January after Christmas when he stopped playing. And he just did. People can say whatever they want. He was turned off by the other cast of characters. That doesn't stop you from doing what you're used to and putting on the level of play. And if you go back and look at those 6 weeks, January and a couple weeks prior to Christmas, he was not LeBron James. He did not give maximum effort. He did not make the other guys around him better. In fact, it was exact opposite. He set the tone to where those guys said, if LeBron's not playing defense, I'm not playing defense. If LeBron has low energy, I have low energy. He was the reason that team tanked the way that they did.
LeBron
what was his
James.
Plus minus? His plus minus. He had the worst plus minus of anybody in the league. I'm not talking about of the top 10 players. Anybody, the 518 players in the league, he had the worst plus minus. LeBron James does not deserve to be even considered MVP, considering what he did.
He won't be in the top 5.
Sure, he might be in the I'm just saying, 5. I wouldn't consider him because he took off 6 weeks during the season because he didn't want to play. And I think that disqualifies you. You are not an MVP if you don't put up maximum effort the whole time.
Stop it. Are you, Rob? Leave, Rob. Leave. I thought we had something. Leave. Thank you. Now I can make my point. Absolutely. LeBron deserves to be in the MVP talk. Are you kidding me? We're talking about a guy in January. Rob, come back out here. I want you to hear this. All right. We're talking about a guy that averaged, you're saying, oh my gosh, he wasn't getting it done. He was only averaging 23 points a game.
23, 7, and 7 on 50% shooting.
He's done. He's washed up. Hang him up. Put him in the closet. We don't need him in the MVP talk anymore. Yeah, we're talking about a guy who we can compare. Tom Brady. Everybody grows tired of Tom Brady. What does he go out and do? Win the MVP. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what he did.
But this ain't a Lifetime Achievement Award.
It's not.
And you know what?
You're talking about a guy who averages 25, 8, and 8. The only person to ever do it more times, and LeBron isn't done, Oscar Robertson. Russell Westbrook has done it this year. I mean, LeBron done it this year, and now he did it last year. Michael Jordan only did it once in his career. James Harden has only done it once.
I'm glad you brought up Tom Brady. The only way that LeBron should win the MVP is if Carson Wentz gets hurt. That's the only way that LeBron should be able to win it.
Wow. My point is the expectations are so great for LeBron to carry teams. When I look at James Harden, am I saying that James Harden isn't the front runner? No, absolutely not. He is. But does he have the better team? Yes. Does he have the better supporting cast? Yes. So are his numbers going to be just that much better? Should they? Probably, because he had better shooters for almost all of this year and last year without having to shuffle up everything that you have and acquire new talent so that I can now do.
You remember when Chris Paul was out?
Yeah, look, LeBron, he's not in the MVP discussion because there isn't a discussion. It's James Harden by a mile. Like, who else? Steph Curry's missed 15 games, and they're struggling a little bit. Kevin Durant playing well, but is he even the MVP of his own team? I mean, they're struggling. LeBron could be second, but it is a distant second. James Harden would have to fall off the cliff, so to speak, for LeBron or anybody else to win it. Or he'd have to get hurt and be out for several weeks. Because, look, we know they have the best record in the league. I said yesterday or 2 days ago, they are the most efficient offense in NBA history. And as great as Chris Paul is and has been for them, he's missed 18 games.
And they're still good.
Yes, and you talked about the supporting cast. Man, I can make a strong argument that LeBron's got just as good, or if not as, with that.
You're talking about
last year. Last year, LeBron had a better supporting cast than James Harden, since you brought last year up. Now, with Chris Paul, of course, you got a Chris Paul, but the Cavs have a great supporting cast too. And a lot of times, supporting cast takes your numbers down. But Harden is the engine in Houston, leading the league in scoring, second in assists, higher PER than LeBron. Like, there's no discussion. And if I had to vote today, it's possible LeBron James might be second. But it's not even, because by default, I mean, now I got to put Russell Westbrook in the race. I have to put Giannis Antetokounmpo in the race. Usually you're not putting guys whose teams aren't winning in the race, but it's just a strange year. It's Harden by a mile. LeBron, I expect him to play terrifically here on out, but the MVP race is sewn up for Harden if everything remains as it is. Even look, if LeBron averages 35 points,
let me say
this. If LeBron James averages 35 points and they win at a 90% clip,
then you got to
the rest. No, I don't. If they do, he does that the rest of the way. And Harden just continues to play as he has. Harden still got it because it's the MVP of the season. It's not the MVP of the last third of the season, not post-All-Star break. MVP from November
I think you just erased your entire
April.
case.
How?
Because
Harden's been better all year.
If LeBron does that, and he was struggling, as we say, he was just garbage in January, and then he acquired these guys who didn't make the team better, who does not make the team better, and he does what you just said, 35, and they win at a 90% clip. He just turned around their whole season.
Yeah, but what about but it's a whole year.
Right. I get that.
I can't discount, to Rob's point, I can't discount January.
No, I'm not saying you can't, but his January was that bad?
Yeah, it was that bad.
23-7-7?
No, Harden's entire season has been that good. Look, if you want me to write something out where LeBron's MVP of the last third of the season, I'll do it. He can be MVP of the last third of the season.
Can you do me a favor?
Whole season, James Harden.
This is where my young ears really hear better than these senior citizens.
Oh, wow.
So can you please repeat the question for me?
Sure.
Just repeat the question, or I'll repeat it for you. Does LeBron still deserve MVP consideration?
No.
So we're not talking about
everybody deserves MVP. I mean, seriously. There's nobody else being considered right now other than James Harden.
Let me tell you how much of an MVP consideration I think LeBron deserves. Let me help you. Let me help you all out. Let's go do it, LeBron.
I saw those this morning.
Let's go do it, LeBron.
You and Shannon see.
Exactly. Shannon, the only thing I don't have is the black and miles in the hand. That's the only thing I don't have.
Is he your MVP right now?
I ride with LeBron anywhere we go.
But I love LeBron too.
James Harden is the MVP right now at this point. At this present point at the break.
Okay.
And is it close,
if James Harden continues to do 30 points, 9 assists,
if we're changing the question, it's not close right now because James Harden has been that great. Absolutely. And he's been consistent.
And LeBron had a bad month. his team's not playing well.
LeBron in LeBron standards, yes,
By his
he could have. So let's add that. We have to add that.
By his
But we know that. We're always going to judge him.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the planet.
Exactly.
So when he has a bad month, it's noticeable. It doesn't mean that he can't play anymore. He had a bad month. He took a month off. That's all, and that's why he's disqualified.
Look, like I said, he might be second, but it's a wide gap between
He took
first
a
and
month off. He doesn't sit. He doesn't miss games. He's just a durable guy that plays about 40 minutes a night.
He just stands around
Let
a
me
lot.
ask you this. If Harden continues to do what he's done and just keeps doing what he's done, Rockets keep winning, is there anything LeBron can do to be MVP?
I think there's definitely something LeBron can do. There's always something. Did you miss?
We saw
The
them.
Sox?
ain't going to win him the MVP.
Did you miss this?
No, I see.
Okay,
They're
so
nice,
you
too.
see
I
where
like those.
you see where I'm at.
I need some of those.
You see where I'm at. Bottom line, if LeBron turns this Cleveland Cavaliers team around, and they do what you're talking about, and he averages 35 points, or not even 35
probably
points.
won't, but
exactly, that's
30,
asking a lot.
yeah.
And they win at a 90% clip from here on out, which they can do.
Okay.
I think you now have to consider LeBron James even stronger as a
Consider, but
MVP
would you put
candidate.
him ahead? See, this is the
But we're
thing.
saying- we're
you
saying that-
mentioned LeBron's
we're saying that-
standard is so high that we overlook how great it is, and there's some truth to that.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Harden is doing that this year. Harden's just steady. When Harden averages 30 and 9 in March, nobody's gonna say anything, because that's what he does. Nobody's going to get, James Harden was great. He's tremendous this year. That's what he does. He set that standard now. If LeBron averages 30 and 9 in March, people going to be, and they win like Houston wins every month, people going to jump and say LeBron should be MVP.
I'm not a James Harden fan. I mean, he stays behind the three-point line. That's where he gets about 25 of those points.
Hey,
All right.
you can do it.
No mercy.
ESPN reports the Cavs' payroll can break records and be as high as $300 million next year if they re-sign LeBron James this offseason. The Cavs made big moves at the trade deadline last week, and in the process, they added about $10 million to their payroll. Reports say some league execs believe the latest moves were made in preparation for LeBron potentially leaving for free agency. We're joined by FS1's Jason McIntyre. Jason, the Cavs clearly have abandonment issues. It happened once. Can it happen again? Will it happen again?
I actually think it will, Holly. I believe if the Cavs do not win the championship this year, LeBron will bounce. They have done some great moves at the deadline here. They've got a lot better, but this is as good as they can get. They cannot go into the offseason and do much with the exception of maybe trading that Brooklyn Nets pick plus Kevin Love for something. That's the best they can hope for. But otherwise, this is what LeBron's going to be stuck with for the next 2 years. Is George Hill, Clarkson, Nance, is that really the core that's going to get him over the top? Or does LeBron say, man, I'd love to be playing next to Paul George. He could guard Kevin Durant in crunch time. I can kind of coast on the Lakers. And I believe with the young Lakers core, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, really young, cheap is the key word, players, you can build a better roster in L.A. next year than what the Cavs have this year, because they can't get much better, Chris.
What about the elephant in the room? LeVar Ball. You think LeBron wants to deal with that?
I think that's a bridge that he will cross when it's time.
No, I don't think he's going to wait. I don't think he, look, I don't know with 100% certainty that he would not go there because of LeVar, but I know it would be a strong deterrent. And I don't think LeBron would go there just like Magic did. I don't think LeBron would make the same mistake as Magic of saying, I can go there and handle it. I think he would probably handle it before he went there.
Let me add this, and I don't want to come off like I'm defending LeVar Ball at all, but when he was at UCLA with his son last year, and they were rolling, winning 30 games, nothing out of LeVar Ball. Nothing about the UCLA team.
Except that he was better than Steph Curry.
Well, that's NBA, but at UCLA.
And then when they lost in the tournament, they couldn't win because of white players.
Listen to what he's saying.
So when things are good, LeVar Ball, everything's cool, we're winning, all right, no problem. Now, when things go sideways, yes, I'll blame the slow-footed white guys on UCLA. Is that what he said? So if you add LeBron...
But his son got ran out the gym in that game.
No question. But Rob,
right?
The only
point.
reason why I would counter that is because Lonzo was the center of attention with all that winning.
That's right.
That's fair, yeah.
He would not be the center of attention.
He would not be the center, but
if
the
you
Lakers
bring in
will be
LeBron
winning.
and Paul George, I still have Brandon Ingram. I mean, Lonzo would barely be starting on that team. And I don't need a Lonzo Ball if I have LeBron James.
Who's got the basketball?
Exactly. I need a point guard that can really shoot it when LeBron
Imagine if the
basketball.
Cavaliers said that. We got Kyrie Irving. We don't need LeBron James. We got a point guard. No, if you can get LeBron James,
Kyrie Irving can shoot.
Right.
Kyrie Irving can shoot.
Well, Lonzo,
of course, if I can get LeBron James, but what I want next to LeBron James is a point guard who can shoot the basketball and be effective without it. Kyrie was great with the ball, but he also was great without the ball. And you're poo-pooing Cleveland. Like, what if they go to the finals and play Golden State tough and lose in a competitive 6-game series?
And win.
You said they can't improve. Oh, really? They have the Brooklyn pick. They could get the top 7. Maybe it's a top 5 pick. Then you're adding a potential star. You forgot. You mentioned Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, and George Hill as the core. That's not the core. The core is LeBron James, a perennial All-Star, and Kevin Love. Then those role players. Rodney Hood is a very good player. Rodney Hood's going to cost them
$12 million a year.
Fine.
What if Rodney Hood's putting up 12 points a game in the playoffs? You paying $12 million a year for Rodney Hood?
If he's putting up 12 points.
I love how you just want to spend Dan Gilbert's money. This is the story on ESPN.
Oh, LeBron wants to spend his money.
Yeah, LeBron certainly will.
LeBron
Not
said,
you, Chris.
because LeBron brings over $500 million of value to that city economically. So he's saying, spend the money. And Dan Gilbert paid about $350 million for the Cavs.
He's fine. He's going to be fine.
He could sell them for
exactly.
over $1.5 billion.
Right.
So come on, like, that's where LeBron wants him to spend. And to Dan Gilbert's credit, he has spent the money.
You got to give him right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what you want from an owner. Just be willing to pay. And he has done that. So I'm not saying, I don't know if LeBron's staying or not, but I'm saying the chances of him staying now are better after these trades than they were before.
I agree. And I think that the options are limited because he's not going somewhere to build something from scratch. He doesn't have that many years.
Yep.
He's not trying to go somewhere with some young kids and say, oh, maybe 3 years from now I'll have a chance to win. He's only got 3 or 4 years left. It's got to be add water, stir, and win a championship. That's what he's trying to get to. So the Lakers aren't that attractive if it's not with Paul George. If he comes here with the kids trying to get them in shape to try to win a championship. So Cleveland and coming out west, do you really want to come out west and not make it to the finals because the road is too tough, or do you stay in the East, Cleveland or Philadelphia? Right? You still get to the NBA Finals. You go to Philadelphia with a couple of young star players, right?
Wait.
That's not that far away.
Are you discounting Toronto and Boston?
Yes, I'm discounting Toronto and Boston. I've seen that movie. Toronto with the exchange rate in the playoffs, they never win. Right? And Boston, they're not ready yet. As much as I like Kyrie, they're not ready. They're not there yet. So that's why I think his options are limited, and everybody has him going everywhere. There's only 2 or 3 spots, and guess what? Cleveland is still a good spot for LeBron
with
James.
that owner who he's had an awful relationship
That's fine,
with.
and he came back to him.
He had an awful relationship with him.
Exactly.
Came back to him, and in 2016...
He did that for the city of Cleveland, not Dan Gilbert.
You're right, but still, he did come back, and he won a championship with him.
We've seen this movie before. We've seen him with the decision and him regretting ever having that big skeptical of a decision to be made to kind of leave his hometown. So with that, I think that plays still in the back of his mind. Cleveland is a great situation for LeBron James with these new additions and acquisitions. And to your point, Rob, there's no other place that really is inviting and worth the risk to make sure that, like, it's we can almost safely say, and I said this yesterday, nothing's 100% guaranteed. It's like a 99% chance that LeBron James will be playing for the NBA Finals, competing for a championship if he continues to stay in Cleveland. Like, that is without question. And if he is trying to pass Michael Jordan, which you don't think he has the opportunity to do anymore, his best bet is to stay in Cleveland and work with what he has and work with the pick that they have and maybe take less money and try to do something.
Take less money.
I mean, I don't know if I take less money, but
let me get one thing, Greg. Greg just said staying in Cleveland's his best chance to catch Michael Jordan. You don't think going to the premier franchise in NBA history, leading them out of the weeds with post-Kobe Bryant era and bringing them a championship, you don't think that would trump getting another title?
How about if he doesn't win? How about if he comes to LA and doesn't win?
Let me tell you why I don't think that's it would be great. if he felt like, man, if we can get the pieces there that can ensure that I'm going to possibly get there, yes. But when you think about, I love LeBron James and I love what he does on the court. But personality, he listens to everything. And he does not want to fail. And he is not a fan of failing. Like, I don't think he would take it good if he comes out here and he doesn't get it done.
Gets knocked out in the second round.
I don't think that's not his. He wants to be in a position where he knows it's almost a guaranteed. I mean, he left Cleveland for a guaranteed situation, and it didn't work. And you see, to your point yesterday, he went back from playing the villain role to I got to be me. I got to do what I do. And he went back to Cleveland because, again, he felt a certain way about his departure. And so I got to make that right. He doesn't want to make that mistake again. And he doesn't just want to walk out the door and go into a worse situation and not end up in the finals when it was guaranteed that you were going to be there.
And as far as catching Jordan, look, it's somewhat, I wouldn't say long shot, but that ship may have sailed. But if he has any chance of doing it, it would be to build something. Like that, even in Cleveland, you can say he already won the title there, but he had a big three, Kyrie and Kevin Love, in this big three era. If he won a championship with this cast of role players and Kevin Love against a big four from Golden State, all championships aren't created equal. You wouldn't take anything away from him if he won it with Paul George in L.A. or with Chris Paul and James Harden in Houston. But if he wins it with this group, beats Golden State, that would be huge. Just like his one championship in Cleveland is more impressive than the two he won in Miami.
Absolutely.
So that is something that might make people say Jordan couldn't have done that.
Yeah, no, Jordan tried. He went to the Washington Wizards and failed. He could not get to the playoffs.
He was 39
I get
years old.
I get that.
Don't even bring that up. Don't even bring that up.
Here's an angle.
Do not even bring that up.
He goes to LA with 34.
That's not fair. Don't
How about
bring
this?
that up.
Is this fair? LeBron now has how many houses here in LA, Chris? Two?
Two.
Okay. He's going into the movie industry now. House
he's
Party
really
movie,
struggling.
Space Jam 2.
He's not a mogul yet.
Add it all up.
He needs to come to LA to be a
Come on.
Everybody's talking at the same time. Thank you for firing everybody up, Jason. We always appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
No mercy.
Our next guest is one of the greatest receivers of all time, a 7-time Pro Bowler who was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2014. Also a Buffalo Bills legend who played 15 seasons with the team, appearing in 4 Super Bowls. We welcome Andre Reed to the program. That is a much better intro than Jason McIntyre got, by the way.
I like He's a Hall of Famer.
Some good stuff. That's right. I love it.
All right, you ready to get into it?
Dressed better than McIntyre, too.
Sharp.
Yeah, I had Greg's.
That's not hard.
Exactly. We're receivers, but we know how to do it. That's how we know how to do it.
Andre, you ready to impart your wisdom on us?
Of course.
Drop some knowledge? All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about one of your former teammates. First up here, we can count Andrew Luck as a fan of the Colts hiring Frank Reich as their new head coach. Yesterday, he said that he wants to learn from Reich. Reich had his intro press conference earlier this week and praised Luck, calling him one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Despite Luck missing his entire season after shoulder surgery, he seems very optimistic about Reich coming to ND. Take a listen to what he had to say.
How does Frank's approach, picking up the pace on offense, how does that sound to you?
Yeah, it sounds great. I know, all the best offenses that I've been a part of in my career, we've not been static, and we've attacked, and I'm sure he'll have a great flavor, and we'll involve as many people as we can, and attacking defense is what it's all about. You can learn something from everybody, and certainly all our history shapes so much of how we think and the thought process, and I'm really excited to hear his thought process and how he did it as a player and how he's seen other players do it and how he's done it as a coach. And I think that can have a very positive impact on our team.
All right, Andre, you know Frank very well. Can he resurrect Luck's career?
There's no doubt about it. I think, Frank is a student of the game, and people don't realize during those no-huddle years when we had the no-huddle, and if you look at offenses now, there's an element of a no-huddle in every single offense. But Frank, student of the game, actually Jim Kelly, really didn't. He called the plays, but he confided with Frank more than anybody. He was more of an offensive coordinator a lot of times. And then obviously the comebacks, the greatest comeback of all time. Yeah, that's what I like to tell you.
Well, Frank Reich has 2 of them.
He has 2 of them. College and pro.
I mean,
you were huge in that game too.
Yeah, and I think what he's going to do in Indianapolis, he's going to let those guys go. Of course, having a healthy Andrew Luck is going to be very important. T.Y. Hilton has to get back to that Pro Bowl status again. And who knows if Frank Gore is going to play another year or two. I mean, I think someday he'll be a Hall of Famer. He's kind of one of those guys that has all these yards, you don't even know it. And he just continues to produce. So he's just a very subtle guy, Frank is. And he's not flamboyant. He's just going to get those guys together and say, hey, this is how we do it. And obviously what he did with Carson Wentz and what he did with Nick Foles. And I think he's going to do a great job there.
How do you compare Andrew Luck to a lot of the great quarterbacks he's worked with? You mentioned Carson Wentz, but Peyton Manning, even Jim Kelly, who he played behind.
Yeah.
How do you kind of compare Luck's tools to those guys?
Well, Andrew Luck is almost the same. I mean, he's kind of like built like Jim, but obviously he's a little more mobile, just as smart, if not smarter. I think he's going to get the best out of him as he can. And again, in the NFL, the quarterback is the most important position. It's a quarterback-driven league, and if you don't have the quarterback calling those plays and you don't have the confidence, and Greg knows, no confidence in a quarterback, the offense doesn't go anywhere. So it's going to be important that he gets on the same page as Frank and they get on the same page together.
What I heard from Frank during the press conference was good. They were saying, well, you weren't the first choice, and he really answered it great. He was like, I've been through that before, where I had to come off the bench and get it done. I don't have an issue with not being the first choice.
Yeah.
Just talk about his demeanor and like not being all caught up on that, about him having to be the star of the show.
He never was like that, and I think he played his role so good there in Buffalo that he knew, well, when it's my turn, I got to produce, and that's really how it is in the NFL. A lot of times these quarterbacks go down, and you got to have confidence in that second guy coming in. You know, you guys were talking the last segment about Kirk Cousins. Where's he going to go? You know, he's the number one guy wherever he's going to go, whether it be in Cleveland or wherever. But you got to have somebody behind him that can just pick up the slack if something goes wrong.
I think that's an interesting point you just made about making sure that he has somebody behind, because he was a behind the scenes guy. He was a second guy. And when you look at Andrew Luck, we talk about resurrecting his career. Andrew Luck is a player that is very exciting when healthy. I think when we say resurrecting his career, it's more predicated on his health, because there was nothing wrong with Andrew Luck's career when he was playing, other than the fact that I think what Coach Reich would do is eliminate his turnover ratio.
Because, see, Greg, I was just about to say, before he got hurt, he was turning the ball over a lot.
His turnover ratio.
And that was the big thing.
But we were okay with that because he gave us so much greatness in the passing game and even with his legs. I think that's the part that he's going to really help Andrew Luck with, is knowing when to take chances and when not to take chances. When you look at Carson Wentz in 2016, he had 14 interceptions. He was a rookie, but then coming up into this year, he cut those interceptions in half. So I think that's where he will be best suited.
Yeah, and as a quarterback, you got to pick your spots, and you got to know where to throw the ball. A lot of times, in defenses now, they're closing those gaps down. They're closing the zones down. You got to be able to know if that zone's open right away, hit it. If not, you got to take your second guy, take the third guy, check down. That's really the progression. So. And Andrew Luck has done that his whole career. And this, like you said, this health thing and with his shoulder, that's going to be big coming into training camp. Even if he throws or whatever's going to go on, that's the confidence that they both have to have in each other.
You mentioned Frank, when he was a player, you saw like he was like an offensive coordinator.
Yep.
You probably could see he'll be a good quarterbacks coach one day. Those are kind of what he's been. Now it's a different role as the head coach. What would you say to him as far as, okay, you're stepping into this different role versus what you've done already?
I think, he was in Philadelphia, and actually Doug Peterson, I was in Kansas City one year, and Doug Peterson was the quarterback coach under Andy Reid. So I think they worked together so well. I think that's why they did well, because they were quarterback coaches, same offenses maybe similar. But, Frank's going to he's not going to go over his head. And I think he's just one of those guys that just, here's the paper. This is what we're going to do. He's going to put elements in there that he's going to, where he thinks the offense is best at. Obviously, you got to run the football, but he's not going to try to protect anybody. If Andrew Luck is healthy enough to play, that's the guy. That's the guy that's going to do it.
We have an argument all the time about going to the Super Bowl or championship compared to winning. We know what a great career you had. Obviously, you went to the Hall of Fame, all the other stuff. But you guys went 4 times. The Bills lost all 4. Would you rather have gone one time?
Oh, I get that question all the time.
And win 1 than go to 4 and never win?
You know what? I think after the first 5 years I was retired, I would rather have 1 to win, not go to 4. Now it's another, 50 years later?
It ain't that long.
Well, you know,
but
it's
you
a lot of years.
wanted to win, right?
Of course. I mean, come on. We're all competitors, and that's what you play the game for. You go to training camp, you do all that work, and to get to a Super Bowl and win a championship. That's really what it's about. And I would not do it over with any other guys and those guys in that locker room we had. Jim, Thurman, Bruce, Steve Tasker, all those guys. Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame owner. You don't get it done and do what we did without that kind of nucleus around you. And Greg knows in Green Bay it was the same thing. You know, Brett Favre, and you had all the coaches and all. You mold all that together, you get a winning franchise. You get a culture that you want. And that's, again, Frank is trying to change that culture. We'll try to change that culture there
I think what Rob is kind of trying to slide in.
I know, I was not going to answer
it. No, he's trying to slide in the whole LeBron.
I'm just saying, if
I heard you.
Michael Jordan, I'd rather go to 6 and be 6-0.
Yeah.
Then LeBron has been to 8. You could go to 8, 9, 10. It's still about winning them. That's all I'm trying to say. I think people try to say, well, if he goes to 10, it doesn't matter how many you win. He still went to more championships.
Well,
I just think winning matters.
I don't think, but I think your Bills team, those were great teams.
Yeah.
And they get belittle because they didn't win one.
They don't get as much.
Definitely do.
They don't get as much credit.
We win 1 out of those 4. We're
totally
dynasty.
different.
Yeah.
We're dynasty. We're like the Pack. We're like the Steelers. We're like the 49ers. We're like the Cowboys. But it just so happens we didn't win any of them. So, well, you know, when they put all the greatest teams ever, the Bills are always, they were good, but they didn't win any. Now, I mean, to answer your question, I would be like, I'd rather go to 4 and not win 1. I'd rather go to 4 in a row than not win 1 at this point. But again,
and why is that? For the experience?
I think it just, you know, Marv Levy was all about character and what that meant. I think all those years we went to those 4 straight Super Bowls, we built character every single year. And if you look at other players that were on those teams that went to other teams, that were on our team that went to other teams, the teams that they went to, they try to build character as they go to another team. And again, I would not trade that for anything.
No mercy.
NFL Network reports Steelers GM Kevin Colbert told Le'Veon Bell that they have a, quote, strong desire to keep him in Pittsburgh for the rest of his career. However, Colbert also didn't rule out putting the franchise tag on Bell for the 2nd year in a row. Bell missed all of training camp after signing the tag for just over $12 million this season. And last month, he said he's prepared to retire if he is franchised again. So, Greg, is it a mistake if the Steelers franchise Bell?
It's a huge mistake. This is a huge mistake. We're talking about a player that for the last 2 years, he's averaging roughly 1,900 yards from scrimmage. 1,900 yards from scrimmage. Like, are you kidding me right now? Let's eliminate Le'Veon Bell from the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have no running game. They become solely one-dimensional passing game, throwing the ball at least 45 times a game with Ben Roethlisberger, with no Le'Veon Bell that's going to come out of the backfield and add to that passing game now all of a sudden. You lose too much. It's not just about what he provides in the running game, it's what he provides in the passing game also. The complementary second receiver, if you will, to Antonio Brown. Even though we have Juju Smith-Schuster and all these other guys, Martavius Bryant, you have guys in weaponry outside on the perimeter, but you have one of the most elite backs in the league, arguably the most elite and talented back in the league that can both run and catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's a great pass protector. You got everything you need in this guy, and you're not willing to pay him. This is why I hate the franchise tag. I absolutely hate the franchise tag because it eliminates a player's opportunity to see the open market, and it forces them to do it another year, trying to avoid injury and trying to make sure that their numbers still meet the requirements that they need to have to gain the money.
Whose fault is that? Your Players Association who agreed to that.
We're not talking about the Players Association right now.
Okay.
I'm just saying I don't like the fact that I don't like the tag. I think that the Steelers are making a huge mistake, and it has nothing to do with they see something that we don't see. I know what he does.
Did you read my notes?
Look, here it is. When we look at the Washington Redskins, they see something that we don't see in Kirk Cousins. Yeah, what they see is that they don't want to pay this player.
No, but I see what they see with Le'Veon.
The same with Le'Veon. And we've had this last year with Eric Berry. He told the Kansas City Chiefs, look, if they tag me, I'm sitting out. So this is the first time we've heard a player say this, and I think these teams have to do a better job of just valuing what they have. I mean, I get it, you're going to use your leverage, but come on, guys. These players have a short window to make this amount of money. Don't do them like this.
I get your point about the franchise tag, so I have some compassion there, but I get it. And you know this too. Running backs, they don't age like wine. So, as you got to make sure if you're going to make such a commitment to a running back, their careers don't always pan out.
That's the point.
Okay, but I'm saying I understand, and I understand why the Steelers have pumped the brakes. There's been a couple suspensions, wacky tobacco issues that's going on.
Is that what he calls it?
Yeah, something like that. And then last year, which would have bothered me, before a big playoff game, and again, Chris, the press asked him maybe about his situation and the contract, but he talks about the week before they play the Jaguars that he's going to sit out. He's talking about a contract sitting out or retiring. That's not. I don't want to hear that.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't if he wouldn't have been tagged. If they would have just extended him, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
My point is that conversation shouldn't happen the week of the playoffs.
You would have been the reporter asking.
I probably would have. but if he would have said, I don't want to talk about it.
Come on, Levy, this is your money, man. You got it.
The other thing is, too, looking at football, Pro Football Focus, he's dropped 91.9 to 85.4.
I'm done. Chris's favorite site.
Best quarterback.
It's run by the
plus minus.
Wait a minute. No plus minus, but he also.
I think Kevin Colbert's, the GM's son, runs that.
No.
From the basement.
Also dropped like a yard per carry, right? It was 4.9 to 4.0. And only 3 rushers of 20 yards or more, which was a career low. So all I'm saying is, I could see why they want to pump the brakes right here, take another look, make sure his head is right, make sure he's doing everything, and then next year give him the contract. I think they want to keep him. He is a great player. He makes them so much better, but I think I want to pump the brakes one more time and then
really quick, Chris, the problem that I have with that is the longer you push out a guy and say, show me one more year, the running backs, to your point, their shelf life isn't that long. So pay the man.
But you see both sides, because if the shelf life, if he's going to run out in 3 years, why am I giving him a longer-term contract? I see what you're saying, and I feel for Le'Veon, but they're not looking at it that way. They're looking at the bottom line, and this is very tough for me because of all the things I love about football, to me there's nothing like watching a great running back. There's nothing like seeing a guy break a 50 or 60 yarder.
Like we used to watch Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I mean,
like
other than watching great receiver play.
Well, I love receiver play, but I would rather see a breakaway run than a bomb. That's just me. So and Le'Veon, as you said, is among the best in the league. There's no question about it. But when you look at it, I think objectively, I'm with Rob. I see why they're offering the franchise tag. Because here's the thing. He made $12 million last year. He would make $14.5 million this year on the franchise tag. The highest paid running back in the league per year, Devontae Freeman, makes $8.5 million. The second highest is LaShawn McCoy, and then Jonathan Stewart. They're at $8 million a year. So even if Le'Veon's upset, but even if you just play under this franchise tag for one more year, you are essentially making the same money that the other top paid running backs in the league are making for 2 years. So looking at it from that standpoint, when I throw in the injury history, forget the wacky tobacco, the injury history. He's been banged up. He's had 2 knee surgeries or knee injuries. And so that's something else to worry about. Then you talked about how much he brings to the team. They're 42-20 with him, 11-7 without him, a little bit better with him. But they actually score more points per game without him. 26.7 compared to 25.2 with him. They have more total yards per game without him. Now, obviously, like you said, Ben makes up for it with the passing. But my point, and then in the red zone, they got a higher TD percentage by a nice margin, 52% with him, 64% without him. So my thing is, if I'm still going to be a playoff team, and when he only had 6 games a few years ago, they still made the playoffs. If I'm going to be a playoff team without you, why am I going to pay you twice as much as the other highest paid people at your position? I can go out and get, I hate to say it, but running backs, there's a lot of good ones out there that if I put them behind the right offensive line, they're going to do work. Maybe not quite as good as him, but I can find some. And so as much as I love Le'Veon Bell and want to keep him, I'm kind of like, dude, the franchise tag, it doesn't give you the security, but you're still making twice as much money as the highest paid running backs in the league. So with his history, you're only 25. Be a good soldier for 1 more year. Don't get injured for 1 more year.
Don't get in
Have
trouble.
a great year for 1 more year. Don't get in trouble. Then I'll do you long term.
Rob, do they have to make the tag exclusive this year? Do they?
What?
They don't? They don't? Which means if it wasn't an exclusive tag, what happens with a transitional tag or a non-exclusive tag?
Then you can get other offers.
You can get off.
So don't do that.
Is somebody going to offer
Okay.
him more than what they're going to offer him
Absolutely.
per year?
Absolutely. I guarantee you somebody
More
will
than 14, not per year, but more than 14.
Do you see how you're making my point,
Okay,
though?
yeah,
So
I get it.
if you have all that concern, if you think that you can win without me, let me test the market.
Why should I? Like Rob said, your union agreed to these rules.
to this.
You don't
gotta
get mad at
admit
me.
that.
Get mad at DeMaurice Smith and all those guys.
That's a whole nother
You got to
topic.
play by the rules. If I'm the Steelers, I love Le'Veon Bell. I want him in my franchise. They said it long term. But I'm looking at the history, the injuries, the wacky tobacco, all that. And you had 321 carries last year. Is that going to show some wear and tear this year? I'm just saying I have to be responsible for my franchise. And as much as I'd like to hook you up because it's the right thing to do, I got to run a business.
I get all of that. I get all of that. And I get that it's a business. And yes, does a lot of this fall on the players doing 100%? 100%. Like I said, that's a topic in and of itself. But if I'm Le'Veon Bell, I know what I bring to this team, and you know what I bring to this team. And you're telling me you're willing to go into the playoffs because we talk about this even in the NBA. Regular season is one thing, even though in NFL regular season games they all count.
Right.
But if you go into the playoffs, teams start to game plan you completely different. And the more weaponry you have, the more arsenal you have, the more bullets you have for them to scurry around, the better odds you have of winning. The Pittsburgh Steelers without Le'Veon Bell does not do anything in the playoffs. I'm sorry.
I'm not
because they
asking
become
you to play
completely
for free.
one-dimensional.
I'm not asking you to play for free.
Right, the money
That's
he talked about.
$14.5 million.
I get all that, but if you give me a guaranteed contract of $40 million guaranteed versus a guaranteed 1-year deal, I'm taking that, Chris. Come on.
Of course you taking it, but the Steelers too, they don't guarantee long term. They give you the bonus. They usually only guarantee the signing bonus. So they might give him $20 million up front, guarantee that, and then your year-by-year contract is not guaranteed. That's usually how the Steelers do it.
That's all with your agent and how you guys structure things out. I get all of that, but my point is, guys want to be locked in so they have a guaranteed for their future.
I get it.
And I understand it's a business, so the teams have leverage. That's why I don't like the tag, because the player has no leverage. The player can't say, I'm not playing this year and then still get paid what he was going to get paid. No, he loses out of everything.
I agree. Yeah.
The arguments are great here. I just wonder if we can stop saying wacky tobacco.
No,
can we just be a little cool?
Holly,
Just a little cool.
I mean,
what would you like?
I would rather just say marijuana.
No,
just
we got to
call it what
call
it
a
is.
T-shirt company.
The
They're
wacky
putting them as
tobacco.
we speak.
You don't have to use the
Wacky
actual
tobacco.
terms. Least cool dude of all time.
No mercy. Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. Keep an eye out for a weekend edition of the podcast tomorrow morning, featuring the best discussions and interviews from this week. We'll be back with more Undisputed on Monday morning at the same time, 9:30 Eastern. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.